Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes himself for a period of questioning. Mr. Terreri, I know that you have answered multiple questions on the firefighting foam, but I've got a few more of my own. So I think in your testimony, you referenced the forced transition from aqueous film, forming foam, or the AFFF, to fluorine-free foam, F3, and the desire of airports to receive funding to assist with the costly transition and to avoid circular liability for discharges of firefighting foam that were federally mandated. And so while the EPA has issued an administrative policy that it does not intend to pursue entities like airports, I think it is important that Congress provides certainty to airports that they will not be held liable in these circumstances. As we know, administrations change, viewpoints change. What's not palatable today becomes palatable tomorrow. So, but more importantly, according to the Naval Research Laboratory, AFFF creates both a film and a foam blanket that remains stable longer and is more effective than foams that do not contain the current list of chemicals. In other words, the AFFF is more effective than its alternatives as we currently know them. Other observations from the Naval Research Laboratory are that F3s are less forgiving than AFFF and require more precise application due to the absence of the aqueous film. Fluorine-free films can be optimized using aspirated nozzles that improve the blanketing effect, but this application is difficult around obstacles, like the thing that's on fire, like an airplane with people in it, and across far distances, because heaven knows the first thing we all want to do is run headlong into a fire, right? F3s require a less aggressive application so that the foam does not get mixed into the fuel source and itself burn, which, like, I just kind of think about the implications of that. You're a firefighter, people are trying to get off of a burning airplane, and you're like, got to be careful because the firefighting foam might catch on fire, right? That's kind of mind-blowing, actually. Environmental conditions such as wind, at an airport, right? Wind socks are at airport. We're like, as aviators, the wind is an important factor, ever present, almost always. But the wind may cause holes to open up in the F3 blanket. You can imagine what that creates. And of course, repeat applications or passes may be required to effectively extinguish a fire, which isn't helpful either. So the GAO also identified concerns about the performance of alternative foams in temperature extremes. You know, that burning stuff is hot. You get the plastic seats and the foam, et cetera. I certainly understand the concerns surrounding the potential contamination issues with AFFF. We've been dealing with that here. It is very alarming that we are rushing to a transition at taxpayers' expense without an alternative of comparable performance. I get the concerns, and maybe we should minimize practice and some things like that, or practice with something lesser just for the sake of practice. But just running headlong into a less effective alternative and forcing everybody to pay for it, not providing the liability protection, I think is short-sighted. Do you know how the airports plan to address the performance gap, and what would you recommend be done to address the concerns of the flying public that doesn't want to burn alive in an aircraft when this alternative foam is not as effective? It's just not as effective, right? Do you have some recommendations?
Well, I think definitely with the new product, there is training that is taking place. That's what's happening at the FAA Tech Center, along with the ARF working groups, to really understand how this chemical and this component can be used and should be used in its application. It is definitely different than AFFF, but that is something that the industry professionals are all looking at to make sure that in the event that it has to be deployed, it's done in a safe manner to protect anyone who is on that aircraft.
Do you believe we should be forcing the transition until we know what the performance concerns are and what all the potential alternatives might be to be as effective as the current firefighting applications?
Forcing, well, with the FAA having required us
I mean,
to.
you're the kind of the expert here, right? And so your voice matters. And so we're saying, we got this problem over here, we want to fix it, but let's just do whatever we got to do to deal with this problem, which might create a whole other problem, which includes people trying to get off a burning aircraft that can't be put out, because that's where we are. I mean, you got to say it the way it is. So I'm just wondering if you agree with our current approach.
Well, I agree that with this the testing that is being done on the new product that gets applied to the aircraft, right? That they have process and policy on how it is applied, so that it is a alternative.
Yeah, but we're implementing and forcing the implementation, right?
Yes.
Before the testing is complete. Is that good or not good?
I have to know a little bit more about, and the firefighting foam, I guess the unique differences that you're really speaking to here, because I'm not an ARF expert, I'm not a firefighting and chemical expert on their extinguishing agents.
Okay. All right. Chair, thanks. The gentleman in the chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.